Hey everyone, I am with Brad, the CEO of Swingsesh. If you're not familiar with them, they are the ones making those amazing outdoor rigs slash swing sets. So thanks for hopping on, Brad. I know you're a very busy guy. Before we start diving into your story, can you give us just a quick summary of maybe just 60 to 90 seconds of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Brad Lehman, married to my beautiful wife Naomi. We've got two kids, one on the way, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. Girl's the oldest, boys will be the middle, and then baby on the way in January. So that's
January.
kind of our
Dang.
life story, if you will.
Hmm.
I'm a Marine by trade, so my day job consists of that, and Naomi's a urban designer by trade. So. Somehow we arrived here at Swing Sesh.
Very cool. So you're in full hustle mode still. If you're just doing
Yep.
this kind of as a secondary thing. Okay. Well, with that, can like it's a very unique idea. A swing set slash gym equipment outdoors seems ideal
Right.
for like a lot of people, but I don't think anyone was doing it. So could you tell me along like where did you kind of think of this idea, and then um, how did you actually go ahead and get started? Like what was the step one, I guess?
Yeah. So we were living in a motorhome at the time, believe it or not. Naomi was pregnant, and I was going through test pilot school, um, and we were just trying to like forecast what our lives were going to be like when we got a house and when we had the kid. And I just was envisioning my workload, ever increasing, and then I was envisioning kind of like how her life was about to change with the baby coming along. My life was going to change with the baby coming along, and just trying to think of, what we could do to maintain as much as we could, and then maybe even, look at some ways to improve it. And one of the things that hit me was I'm spending a lot of time in the gym. Nobody sees that work. No, the wife didn't even see it really. Like she saw me go for a run or something like that, but we didn't like go to the gym together very often. So it was just something that dawned on me that was completely separated. It was kind of a piece of my work, but was also a piece of my personality. And I thought, man, what if I could somehow take this home? And this was, kind of, it was pre-COVID for sure. So I would say, pre the home gym sprint, if you will. But
Yep. Yep.
obviously, home gyms were a huge thing, but it just, you know, it wasn't on my radar yet. And I started thinking of, well, the baby's going to need all these kinds of things. And it just dawned on me that, wow, there's nothing that exists that is a play set that dad can work out on, mom can work out on. And I brought it up to Naomi one day. I was like, man, am I crazy thinking that this is a good idea? And first she said yes, of course, because that's what she
Yeah.
always says. But then we started talking about it more and more, and we were just like, that is a good idea, and there is a way to do this. So yeah, we just kind of started the design process. Started going through some iterative reviews of, uh, how to make it, how to make it good and safe for kids, how to make it fun and entertaining, and then how to make it transition, between that young phase up to an adult phase and be good for everyone in between. So kind of a lot of challenges there, but it gave me a lot of problems to work on and really focus to make it a good product.
Okay. So design was kind of the first step. Where what about actually producing? What kind of research went into it, and what did you ultimately decide upon for that?
Oh man. So just the military family was kind of our first thought was, how do we make it so that it can be built and then taken apart and then rebuilt when you move, because military families are very dynamic, and I mean half of the U.S. families are dynamic for that matter. As your family grows and changes, your work changes, your backyard changes, and I really didn't want something that was kind of static and stuck in either shape, size, or whatever. I was trying to make it where it could be dynamic with your family as well as it changes and grows over the years. So we kind of use that as one of our design principles. We really wanted to make something that was really robust, such that um, it was capable of any kind of workout that you wanted to bring to it. It could just be pure calisthenics, or it could be you're a power lifter type, and it could support those functions throughout. So that was one of my other design caveats. And then that any mom and dad can full up play with their kids and not be encumbered by the structure itself, which is pretty common in the playset industry. So we were kind of really leveraging the fitness aspect, active play aspect on a playset as well. So really just trying to combine all of that into one unique product. I would say those were our initial design challenges. So
Got it. And then what, like, where'd you go to, like actually produce the steel and that? And then how long did it take until you got your first sale?
yeah, so man, I'm trying to think back. We started designing probably once we thought it was a good idea, we started the business per se, just as a as a placeholder, if you will, for if we could get a design and if it could go. We just wanted to take care of like the simple things, like find a name, set up the business, get a website, and then start working on it, see if you can produce it, that kind of stuff. So we were trying to get the business aspect, the administration rolling, while the designing was going on. So it looks like we started way earlier than we did if you just go look at the business piece. But that all started, I think, in 2018 timeframe, and then the first beta design I welded up here at the house. Just started going through it, and then found all kinds of things that were like, man, this is inefficient, this is hard to make, this is not going to work, all those kinds of things. Fixed that through iteration, and then went out to try to find a manufacturer. And I would say that prototyping phase is probably one of the hardest phases for any business to get through. Just dealing with large companies that really want to make 10,000 of something, and they don't want to help you make one
Yes.
to
Hmm.
get started. So finding someone that was willing to work with us was pretty tough. We went through I don't know, probably 10 to 20 different companies, trying to get started, and really just couldn't get there. And then finally had a break. We had a company that my dad was working with at the time, and they were like, okay, fine, we'll make you one because we love your dad, and he's
Hmm.
awesome. So you can't be that bad. And they built the first one from there, shipped it out to us. And then once again, we had to iterate and design all of the small issues out of that. And then we got to our production run. And then once again, had to go back to find another manufacturer because they weren't interested in production runs. They were only interested in
Gotcha.
prototyping. So kind of back to that same drawing board, but found a local Indiana manufacturer that was willing to work with us, and we've been with them ever since. Yeah, it's been a great deal for everyone.
Where
So
where in Indiana?
I gotta hold all my secret
Okay.
sauce close at hold. So
That's
yeah,
fine. That's fine. What can you remind? You're in North Carolina or West Virginia?
I'm actually in Maryland right now. Yeah,
Maryland.
so
That's right.
I'm
Okay,
stationed in Maryland.
gotcha. That's right. All right, Maryland to Indiana, and tell me about your first sale.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, I was flying a jet that day. I remember it because we'd been waiting on it. You're kind of like, oh man, is this a terrible idea or not?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I was actually flying the jet, and Naomi texted me and was like, "Woohoo! We got our first sale." And so, it obviously exciting for where we were at and where we were going, and then from there it's just been a constant growth since. It's been a great ride. We're hoping to keep that growth trend going, and super excited about it. So
Oh, that's so cool. So do you remember what year that first sale was?
yeah, we were in 2020. I couldn't tell you the specific date. I can see it in my head, but I can't tell you the date. I just don't remember it. But
That,
yeah, we were after a lot of the COVID boom, so we were unfortunately late to the fight in that sense. But as we attempted to really try to get ready for it, we found a couple of things that we just wanted to fix before we pushed it out there. I have a bit of a perfectionist tendency, and I really wanted to make sure it was a high quality product going out. So we did one more design iteration and then had it ready to go. So
Gotcha. So it's been about 3 years then that you've
yeah,
been selling. How about just like the evolution? You mentioned high growth. How about the evolution of like how long did it take to like pick up steam? And
yeah. I mean,
like,
I
yeah,
think we picked up steam, I would say, fairly quickly. And honestly, looking back, it was all perfect for what we needed at the time because had we blown up, we wouldn't have been able to handle it. Obviously, if you fail, that's terrible and tragic as well. But it was the right rate of what we could, what we could do all at once, given kind of where we were at in the business. So, um, as you know, scalability goes along. Sorry, my dog is now harassing me. So,
that's all right.
hey, go on. I don't know if this game's gonna stop or not. So, but scalability is always a big factor with a business as you're growing, and that was one of the big concerns that we were having was, okay, we can do this, we can manage this today, but we need to start putting in place things that will help us be able to grow and grow rapidly as more and more customers come along.
What about so 3 years of the product? How has have you kind of like incrementally improved it over time? I'd be curious just to hear what like that very first one that you sold or the version one compares to what you're selling now.
Yeah, so I guess from a layperson perspective, there would be subtle changes. They're not major, mostly on the manufacturing improvement side. So just really trying to make it more easily manufactured. We really had, 99% of the safety features, all laid in from the get-go for, kids being as safe as possible, adults being, as, safe as they can be as well. And then combining both of those aspects together. And then the structure itself remained very, very, very similar. But there are a bunch of subtle changes in that design, just from an integration perspective, that were necessary to make it, more easily manufactured, fit better inside of packaging, all that kind of minor stuff that probably most end users won't really appreciate, but it's a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Right. I understand that. And are so before I, what about is there anybody who has created something similar since then, or do you feel like you're the only one who's doing this right now?
Yeah, I feel like we're the only ones that are doing it right now. Um, Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else that's trying to jump into this market. I know that a lot of folks are kind of watching us to see, how we're doing and how it's going and what folks' interest level is. Um, but yeah, I don't think anyone's really, stepped into it. So
Gotcha. And then there's a lot of different outdoor products. Like you'll see like outdoor squat racks, outdoor pull-up bars, plates that are a little bit more uh,
right,
that are going to last longer outside, things like that. Is there anything that you're doing, that you mentioned, like got
yeah,
to keep some things close to heart, but is there anything that
yeah,
you're doing that is a really key selling point to people who are maybe have questions
yep.
about keeping something outside?
Yeah, so that is probably the hardest aspect of what we're doing, is, how do you make something that can last in the outdoor environment, and make it useful year round? So it's a hard nut to crack. It took us quite a bit of iteration on that aspect as well. Um, finding a coating. We lived in Yuma, Arizona for a while, so we're really familiar with, what it feels like. We moved the day we moved in was, I think it was like 122 degrees. So we were familiar with what that kind of heat looks like. We've lived in cold climates as well, and so we had kind of that big picture of what the product needed to handle. So we knew we couldn't just go with a regular type of powder coating and shove it outdoors. It would fail for a multitude of reasons. One, it would probably burn kids in the full sun, and then it would probably peel off, anybody who's been around a toddler knows that they're going to beat up whatever it is with something hard. And so we knew we needed a coating that could survive that. And so the coating that we ended up going with is, thermally resistant. So on those hottest days, it can really protect the steel from getting overly hot, which is a pretty phenomenal thing. And then it's also healable. So, if somebody, it's hard to break it because it's flexible. It'll go with the steel if the steel moves. And then on top of that, it's healable. So you can actually just take a heat gun and heat it up, and it'll blend back together with itself. And we actually sell a healing kit so that, if your toddler goes out and manages to scrape it with a brick or something like that, being silly, you didn't just lose your investment. You can go out with a heat gun and heal it up, and you're back to where you were. So that was pretty important to us from the get go. Is, like I said, we just wanted to have a really nice product that met that expectation. When you open the package, you're like, man, this is in fact really nice. So
Cool. And where did you learn this? Did you kind of have a background in this, or was this just like as you were researching how to make it better, you found the right people to talk with, or you read the right stuff?
yeah, I'm a bit of a I'm a nerd at heart. So I'm not afraid to like dive in and fully learn something to appreciate it. So um, my dad has always been, building, making, doing, and then kind of watching him growing up, I had that mindset. So I've always known how to do things, welding, woodworking, etc. And then, um, I have I wouldn't say an engineering background, but I'm in an engineering type of field here in aviation in the test pilot world. So I can see things with that kind of engineering eye. And then I'm like I said, I'm not afraid to research and go through the process to find the right product. And we were just absolutely willing to wait until we found what we needed to make it the product that we wanted. There was no real uh, sense of rush, if you will. We wanted to make sure that when we went right, so that we stepped off on the right foot rather than the wrong foot, if you will.
Got it. Um, and if anyone's watching, they can see the swing sesh in the background.
Yeah.
Um, we're looking primarily at the power rack
Yep.
um, portion, and it looks like a lot of other racks that you'd see out in a garage gym or in an actual
Right.
gym. It looks like a rogue rack. It looks like something any manufacturer would make. So, are you able to give like some key specs on the rack, or
Yep.
maybe just give a quick comparison as to how it how it looks next to a rogue rack or anything like that?
Yeah, so it is extremely similar to most of the racks out there, and we did that very intentionally. We wanted people to, if you've already heavily invested in something, but are considering ours, we didn't want to initially make everything that you had obsolete. So we weren't trying to, make it not compatible. But at the same time, like we did have some key design parameters. So we really needed the 2.5 inch tubing. That just it worked out better for what we were trying to do. We went with 7 gauge or 3/16 steel, so it's extremely heavy duty. That's the heaviest type of. I think we are the heaviest rack on the market out there in terms of like home gym style. So it is extremely robust in that sense. 1 inch holes with the 2 inch spacing, pretty standard. And then all of those 3 inch attachments will fit. There is a little bit of a gap there, so you get a half inch of space there, but they are functional, and with a small spacer, they're fully functional. We do, we want people to understand that when you're working out around children, it is a little bit different, and that's one of the reasons why we did stick with the 2.5. And we made our products very distinctly different. We put like a gate, for instance, on our J cup so that you have to open the gate and then rotate it and then slide it out. It's a 3-step process. So, smaller kids won't be able to just figure that out. And by the time they are able to, you can tell them no and manage it that way. So that's kind of one of the many little subtleties that you find on, on a swing sesh. So
Got it. What about so you kind of answered the question as to like why the rig and the swing set are going to last probably like I don't know 50 years, right? Hopefully. Um you know, what about like the other equipment? Like if you need to bring in a barbell and plates.
Yeah,
Number
so
one, yeah, what's your general advice there?
we have I would say that at least what I do, and I'm going to probably hurt some home gym people's feelings because I know some people are just like super, they want their stuff super pristine. So I have
Hmm.
one pristine stainless steel barbell, which is probably the best suited barbell for outdoors. But for whatever reason, I keep it inside and keep it super nice. And then I have what I call Old Rusty, but that's my barbell that is on the days that are raining and I'm going to go out and get some training in. I throw Rusty on there, and I think it helps me. It helps force me on those days when you're like, okay, this is gonna be cool because I'm gonna break out Rusty and we're gonna go get it when it's raining out here and it feels amazing. It's one of those things. It's hard to crack the door, but once you do, like you feel epically better for having done it. So, and that's once it's probably a hard concept for a lot of garage gym folk, that really try to keep that environment. But having a swing sesh,
Oh,
it's a little different change of mindset because once I break the door, there is absolutely no expectation that any of my comforts are met. It is I am embracing the outdoors, and so it's a little different mindset, but it's pretty cool in my mind.
no, that I know I like that, and I think it's pretty common for even like somebody who wants the nicest equipment in the world in their gym to have a beater bar,
Yeah,
which is just something that you can beat up, and if it gets rusty, it gets rusty. You can clean up.
right,
I mean, the you can clean up those bars every month or so if you really want it to look nice.
right.
The rust comes off.
Yep.
What about plates? If
Yeah.
you're in a climate, do you suggest like just bringing them in and out?
No, so I have left. I bought a pair of Ethos plates right out the gate when we kind of started the idea, and I just left them outside just to kind of see what would happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would fall apart right out the gate. They're just black bumper plates, and they've honestly done really well. We bought some crumble plates as well, and I gave them to a buddy of mine and said, "Hey, just leave them outside. I just want to know if they fall apart ever on you." And he's like, "Dude, they're fine. They're not coming apart." So um, we initially thought that we were going to have a problem with that we might have to manufacture bars and we might have to manufacture plates to deal with
Yeah,
this specific environment. But we're finding that a lot of the stuff is actually a lot more robust than we anticipated. So um, I think there is some space for that in the future, but we're really
right.
not just we're just not having a whole lot of issue there. And AbMat makes a phenomenal 20-pound. I use it for a wall ball primarily, but they're indestructible ball, and we
Yep,
found that thing
can be
has
left
done
outside.
really well. If you leave it literally sitting in water, it will retain a small amount of that water, but it seems to come out quickly, and that's just because I left it submerged for 2 days, just trying to figure out how it would do. Um, and
Gotcha.
it's
Yeah.
literally sitting right over there, and it sits out all the time. So really,
No,
we haven't found any major issues with um, products that I use on the daily.
okay. And then here I'm going to be also I'm going to dig in a little bit as
Yeah.
well. I think about a flat surface. Is
Yep.
Do you have suggestions on? I don't. Do you just put like a? I can see those. I can see horse stall mats lasting forever out there. Actually, now that
Yep.
I'm thinking about it, but what are you seeing people do to
So
have a spot to squat?
yeah, it's all preferential, obviously. So there are folks that, if you don't have the right shoe on, you're not squatting, period dot.
Right.
I'm not that way. But
Yeah. Me
I
either.
fully appreciate the folks that are, and I respect that. So if you're that type of lifter, and I always ask them that question, like, what type of workouts do you do? If you're that type, we recommend that, in the area that you're doing that squatting, that you would put a concrete pad, and then put down a horse stall mat over it, in
Okay.
order to give you some fall protection, give you the surfacing that you're looking for. Most folks will find that either a mulched ground that has been mulched and then packed with either with a horse stall mat or just left alone is plenty sufficient for squatting on. Just make sure it's flat, um, and then once you kind of go beyond that, you're really in uh, the you could go as far as your imagination wants to go and come up with some really clever solutions for it. But those are the most basic. I've got a guy that he did like a it's a gravel type surface, but it's a type that packs, and it's a very nice solid surface. But when you drop the bumper plates, where the plates hit, it'll actually absorb just a little bit. So I didn't expect that to work out as nicely as it did, but it actually worked out really nice. So
Okay. So you mentioned like you started this thinking while you were about to have your first, I think you mentioned.
yep,
You're like,
yep,
oh, I'm going to lose a lot of time. I need to start taking some of my workouts home. I mean, that's a general reason why a lot of people, including myself, started using a home gym.
right,
So that's kind of where the product idea happened. However, I'm not sure if you had this in mind when you're doing it. It's just it seems like a phenomenal uh, advantage for kids to be around their parents
yeah.
growing up as they are working out. Um, do you have any interesting insights as to like why um, parents should be leading, like working out in front of them or around them, specifically within their home?
Yeah, so I think it was a general feeling like I knew that what I was doing it was good for me. It was good for me mentally in a high stress environment.
Yeah.
I could tell you that, um, from flying fighter jets, I had a rigorous sleep schedule. I had a rigorous PT schedule to keep me able to manage my stress level as I was going on. And I knew as soon as I deviated from either the sleep or working out, I could see performance changes because you're constantly tested to near max performance. Um, and I was just thinking through that, with the kids. I'm like, man, this has to have a huge impact on kids. It has to have a huge impact on the wife. She already knew it because she was working out with me as well, and could see it either through me or through herself equally. But I think so. I would say instinctually we knew as parents it was a good thing. What we didn't realize is the breadth of material out there that is like supporting data for that. And the more we like dig in to try to find something, the more it opens up a rabbit hole that is amazing stuff that, man, you're like, this, everyone should know this as a parent. Like, um, we
Yeah.
were reading the book Spark, and if you've ever read through it, it's very interesting. There's a high school in Naperville, Illinois, and they instituted a 0 hour. They called it a 0 hour for PT, and they flipped over PE to be like a heart rate monitoring instead of being, like skill set achievement, if you will. And what they found, two things. One was the people that they thought were being lazy were actually outputting extremely high based on their heart rate. And so maybe they just had never PT'd before, or um, their hormones for their growth cycles were causing them to need a slower day that day. Like they could ramp up their heart rate and down very fast, but it just gave the gym teacher something to focus on, which was surprising to me as well. Just thinking through, like, I'm sure I would have judged and said that you were running slow, you're being lazy, instead of actually your heart rate says you were max performing. But what they found was that also correlated with an ability to learn. And through that, they found that the kids that did this 0 hour were actually improving their academic scores significantly. So much so that Naperville became, and I'm probably going to misquote it, but it became like one of the top performing schools. And it was just like the more you read that kind of stuff, you're just like, man, like for whatever reason, Western medicine wants to figure out how to pill exercise when the answer is actually just a little bit of hard work for a period of time. And man, you've got 99% of all the ailments solved. So anyway, sorry, that was a diatribe, but it's, you know, I am passionate about it. And the more I uncover, the more I realize like how good for kids it actually is. So
Yeah. Um, I'm sure. Yeah. Uh, and that's something like I didn't necessarily think about when I started a home gym, but
yeah,
it's and it's something that I didn't grow up around, but everybody that I know who had active parents growing up say how much they appreciate that. So
yeah,
so yeah, I think it's important, and like you said, it feels like I'm seeing more and more and more of this attitude, which is I think a really good sign.
yeah.
Um, and then also
The
good for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think one of the other cool things was that Swing Sesh really provides like a very natural place. Like I don't have to force them, you know, like you're not going to the gym with me, you're going out to play. And so for them, they also use that, I would say, against you, but it's with you because they don't know that they're on your team in this sense. But they're like, Daddy, Daddy, let's go do pull-ups, you know? And that really means they want to go play. But
Yeah.
for me, it's motivating because it's like, yeah, I do need to go do some pull-ups, or I could go do a couple more pull-ups. So
Hmm.
we found that we are out here equally, and on your off days, you just find yourself doing a couple pull-ups, a couple dips, and just moseying around. So we're just this has become, you know, really a part of our lifestyle. It's kind of crazy, but it has. And I know the
Cool.
same is true for any home gym owner. Um, but it's so especially important at that phase of life where you know, young parents, and there's a lot of research that supports this, but at the point of parenthood is really where fitness starts to it's a Y in the road, and people prioritize fitness or people prioritize other things in life, and then the road to recovery is typically 5 to 7 years down where they're like, wow, something happened, I'm not sure what happened, but I'm not physically as active as I was. and
Yep.
and that delta that they now have to overcome is way more significant than if they'd just done something along the way. So
Cool. Uh, that was good to hear. What about, well, like, what are your offerings? So do you have packages that you can like, is there a kind of a basic setup and then also the deluxe, or can you just go over what you guys offer?
yeah, so kind of your just basic rig. So we're loosely based on a CrossFit model, but obviously with a power rack you can do almost any type of exercise. But CrossFit was kind of you know, the inspiration for us as we were looking to put this together. So I'll give them the props where props are due. But uh, the the outdoor rig is an option, and then the outdoor rig with a box jump setup on it. So it's got the 24, the 16, and the dip bars. That we refer to as our simple sesh, and that's kind of our. Those are our two just specifically workout outdoor options, and then all the attachments can come with those. Then you step it up from there, and you get to our you get to a swing sesh. So there's some folks that don't want to slide on it, so you can either kill the slide, you can kill the swings, or you can um, not have monkey bars on it. And really, they're all the same. We just kind of gave them different names, but the whole
Uh-huh.
system is modular and can be set up in any different configuration. So um, when I guess that's one of the things that's um, hard to explain to folks, but like all of those setups are included in any of the kits that you buy. So there's no real exclusion if you wanted to set it up differently. All the options are available to you. And then like the super deluxe is the super sesh is what we call it. So kind of sticking with the theme. And that's really, it takes that full rack and gets it set out front so that you can have a full power rack, if you will, plus the swing sesh. And that's kind of where it sits. If you want to keep adding on, they will all grow indefinitely.
Right.
The swings, you can add on swings to each other, so you can go from a 2 bar to a 4 bar. And then obviously we've got the monkey bars that go along with it. So really just trying to make it as easy and robust as possible to meet everybody's demand.
Cool. All right. And then really just a few more questions, but I want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So back in the beginning when you were just kind of thinking about the concept, can you tell me about the risk that you had to take at the beginning? Like, was it quite a bit of money, quite a bit of time, combination of both? Can you just explain, like, especially not knowing like if this concept would ever take off? Can you just talk to me about your mindset at the beginning and like if you maybe I shouldn't do this. It just sounds too risky.
Yeah. So yes, they're both. It was quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money. I'm not afraid of the time aspect of it because I could kind of not affect the kids with that particular time that I was putting in the beginning. So that part I wasn't too worried about. Money is obviously something that you worry about because you don't want to take an investment and just watch it dwindle to nothing. So we took that portion of it very seriously. But you know, one of the things that I was looking at was a lot of my buddies were going and doing MBAs on the side, and I was like, well, I mean,
Nice.
this is equivalent to an MBA in real time. So we could
Yes.
take an MBA's worth of money and throw it at this, and just consider ourselves School of Hard Knocks graduates. So that was kind of one of the philosophies behind it. And then, we along the way, we kind of worked our own. I won't say they were like full blown market studies, but we were definitely inquisitive to folks to see like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Are you interested? You have kids. Would you be interested in something like this? And everyone along the way was like, oh wow, that's a great idea. That would be really interesting to see. And so, as we got the first one back in our yard and people could get their hands on it and touch it, they were really excited about it, and we've had just really good feedback since then. I would argue probably it's sort of interesting. The hardest parts, so you kind of in that beginning phase, and even still, there's the guys that are like, "Bro, do you even lift? It's a play set." You get that crowd, and then you get the other end of the spectrum, which is moms and dads that are like, I like the idea of it, but I don't know how to use it. And so that kind of blew my mind as well because
Yeah.
it was we're full spectrum, and we can actually service all of that. So we had to come up with a unique way to like, how do you frame this such that the dude that can lift back squat 500 pounds on the reg would look at it and be like, you know what, it could suffice for what I'm trying to do. And the your suburbanites that are just like, man, I'm 20 pounds overweight. I just need to get this back off, and I view this as a great opportunity. How do I do that? Those were also our customers, and we just needed to be careful of that as we market to them. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and making sure that we serve both of those people equally has been a lot of fun.
Gotcha. And then what about like who is buying them? Is it your suburbanites who are 20 pounds overweight, or do you have a key
Yes,
theme?
I would say we don't have a key theme. It has surprised us. It has like blown us away, actually. So, I mean, we get grandparents that buy, we get people that are pre-kids that just see this as like a great way to work out, and they know it's coming. So they're buying like uh, the the simpler outdoor model with the intent to add on later. We get families of young kids, we get families of old kids, um, you know, everything in between. We get families that have special needs kids that just destroy wooden play sets because they're basically an adult strength, but act, like kids. and it's built for adult men to play on. So
Yeah.
we didn't expect, that was totally unexpected to us, and they were like, "This is exactly what we've been waiting for." So yeah, we've hit across a spectrum of market sets that we just didn't expect. So I would say a myriad of our customers are definitely interested in fitness, and obviously that parenting genre, somewhere between 0 and 15-year-old kids. I would say that's our more heart of the market, but the spectrum is very large and more robust than we anticipated.
Got it. Um, so you may still not think that you have made it, like officially made it. But when did you think like, okay, this might actually work?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ever feel that way completely. I mean, we're growing every year, and at a great rate. So I think that tells the story in and of itself. But it's how do you keep up with the growth? How do you keep the growth coming? What's the rest of the industry doing? How do we navigate that? What do we need to be branching into? Um, all of that stuff. I wouldn't say it keeps me up at night, but it's exciting, and I like to think through, like, how are we going to continue to navigate into this space? So um, yeah, we're really excited about that, and where Swingsesh is going. But I'll tell you, right out the gate, we got a phone call. I won't say from who, but we got a phone call from a playset company, and they were, very inquisitive, and I think that was our indicator that, okay, we have fundamentally rewritten a market set that hasn't changed in 30 years. And when you start thinking about it that way, we are, while we're a player in the home gym market, we are a massive interference in the playset market. There's a lot of parents that just don't want to spend the money on something that is a temporary thing, and parents that are very willing to buy a multi-generational, multi use product.
I bet that was cool. How long ago was that?
That last spring, so not this spring, but the previous spring.
Gotcha.
um, yeah, so it's an exciting business to be a part of. Yeah, and we're just really stoked.
Cool. Are you able to answer like where you hope to be in like 5 years?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I mean, we will still be Swing Sesh. We are, we have a 5-year business projection. I think you're going to start to see that we're, I wouldn't say a big competitor, because while we are a competitor, we're more of an addition to this space. So you're going to see folks that have something in their garage, and then they have a swing session in the backyard. I think that's really what you're going to see. We are an adder to that space. We're just relieving some of the pressure on the garage.
Yeah, that was actually a question I was going to ask, and then I forgot to ask. Are you seeing it being a lot of people who already have some sort of setup in their home, but they also want something to do outside?
Yeah, so I would say it's both. In we see people that have nothing, and this is their commitment to that. And so they see it, they know that it's important, they want to be in front of their kids, and they realize the importance of, I can't just tell you to go be better, I have to be better, and that will make you in fact better. So there's the parents that realize that, understand it, and get it. And then there's the parents that are already doing that, but they want to do it in a more non-invasive way, maybe is how to say it. But they want to do it in a way that lets the kids play in their way while the adult plays in their way. And I think that is, kind of a unique aspect that we're bringing to it. Because you can literally combine working out and playing together, and it's really
Yeah.
cool to see.
Well, last thing I have here is last year home gym con. I think you guys kind of shocked everybody, and it was kind of one of the main highlights of people going to HomeGymCon. Um, have any previews for next year?
Yeah, man, we are super excited about what we're doing with Home Gym Con. We had a great time last year. All the folks that came through had a lot of really cool things to say. I'll be honest, we were a little bit nervous. We're jumping into
Yeah.
the home gym market specifically, and we just wanted to test the waters and make sure that the diehard home gym folks also, you know, at least knew that we existed. And then we wanted some feedback to see, what they thought. And if there was anything that we could do to improve our product or, something of that nature. And we were blown away by the amount of positive feedback that we had, not only from, the folks coming through, but the other vendors that were just excited to see like, hey, this is really cool. It's a different concept. Um, it's bringing something that kind of we all need, and to remember how to play, or remember how to interact with your kids and be there while also maintaining that active play. So I think everybody could see that, feel it, touch it, and I think that made a big difference. So certainly looking forward to what you're putting together this year. It's going to be, or I guess this coming year. It's really exciting to see all the vendors on there. But yeah, we're going to have to step up our game and just see if we can bring some shock and awe again. Once again, excite all the people that come through, and really showcase what you can do in the outdoor space, potentially in addition to your indoor space.
Right. Well, I think last year at Home Gym Con, everybody got first of all, it was taller than most, so it stood out. It was right there when you first entered. I think all of the fellow like inventors or companies all just like appreciated a fresh idea. They like that's the type of stuff they live for, just new stuff.
Yeah,
And then the people, they like, I think everybody, like most home gym owners are, at least a lot of them are parents, and then also, like you mentioned,
right.
there's also aspiring parents. So it's just very practical. I mean, it's definitely an investment up front, but something that like anybody would want. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think awesome. It's a very cool, and I'm glad the entire community like accepted the uniqueness, even if
Yeah,
it's not
we're the
meant for
crazy
a
kids in the
500 pound
corner, but
powerlifter. Yeah.
yeah, everybody came around and supported us. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, we're trying to come up with a challenge to bring to Home Gym Con this year. To actively participate. 700-pound deadlift is awesome and all, but we want to try to come up with something that parents and kids could potentially do together, because as you saw, there were a lot more families there.
Yeah.
And it's French Lick is such a family friendly environment. I would expect that we're going to see a lot more of that next year as well. So we really want to try to embrace that and come up with something that'll be fun for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I know you will. Well, that's all I got. Is there anything else you want to say before we close it?
No, I mean, I think you picked me through pretty well there. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. Sorry, it kind of totally blacked out here. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
It's all right.
yeah, it's not that dark out here, but from your perspective, it certainly is. Um,
That's all right. And yeah, I
yeah.
just kept
So,
thinking question after question after question. So,
and
um,
honestly,
yeah,
I, I should have probably prefaced this a little bit more beforehand, but I would be happy, like, if you need to revisit. I don't need this to be like sales pitchy per se. I really wanted to come on and just say, A, that we exist, but B, like, there's a lot of this stuff that is super important for parents to understand now, as we continue to uncover it. We're writing blogs about it and just posting it out there. But whether you pick a swing sesh or you pick any other Globo gym or garage gym, it doesn't really matter. But this stuff is actually way more important um, than I've appreciated until now. Just reading through, like, if you compare um, fitness to some of the ADHD medications, and you look at like percent of kids that are on some form of something. It just seems like there's a lot to be said for an active environment, not only for adults, but an active environment for kids too, just to be able to get that out. And that's really what we wanted to bring here, was a highlight that we're here, but I don't want this to be the complete sales pitch.
I don't think it did at all. I think
Okay.
we told your story. I was just digging specifically because I think people will be asking these questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
what are the packages? What are like what's the how? What are the dimensions? Those sorts of things.
Well,
Go.
thank you. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, you got it. I'll make sure to just like put your website into the description, so people can check you out, follow, link you to your Instagram, and hopefully people can meet you at HomeGymCon.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Let me hit stop.